varies greatly on whether or not the business that is being purchased is also involving the sale of real estate. And if it involves the sale of real estate, then typically what you have is you have a contract, and then you may have a bill of sale for assets with the sale of the business. And even though they're technically not, a lot of times they are treated kind of as the same type of agreement that is written up for the sale and the purchase of the business. And again, it depends on if it's product related, it depends on if it's service related, which actually the service related one in most instances is easier to kind of account for and to set up because you're not dealing with inventory and you're not dealing with the value, unless of course you're selling the real estate, which is not what we're talking about here. We're talking about personal property, not real property. The sale of those types of assets or account receivables, which you can have in a service-related industry as well. So all of that, it's highly, highly complicated, and the seller wants to make as much money and have as much protection so that when they're done, they're done. And there may be something where the seller still retains a management position or retains some membership interest or shareholder interest when they sell it. So you have to have some terminology and some areas where you have laid out what the terms are going to be for payment to the seller if it goes past the closing of the business, of the sale of the business, and any type of liability that may remain. So you have all of that that has to be kind of considered when you are doing your due diligence. And obviously you have to look at the books, and you have to look at them with a critical eye. You have to look at the property that's being sold, and if there are improvements on the property, and make sure that that those have been fixed. If it is the sale of a business that involves an unimproved property, then you have to do all kinds of things, usually what they call, phase 2 inspection, where, you may be testing the ground soil, you may be testing the firmness of the soil to make sure that you can actually build on the property. I've had some that have come in and want to sell a business or purchase a business, and then you look at it and all of a sudden you see it's a Superfund site because of pollution on there. And that becomes a real problem. Sometimes you can mitigate that, sometimes you can't. So those are things you'll need to look at for due diligence. And if you are selling a business that is worth any money at all, and if you're not, usually there's not a reason to sell it, but you should have an attorney, whether or not you're the seller or the buyer. But for your particular question, when you talk about due diligence, that's obviously a prospective buyer.